We've just received a bone-chilling prediction straight from the mind of one of the world's most influential figures. Elon Musk's ominous warning has sent shockwaves through the airwaves, hinting at a looming event of biblical proportions. Are we on the brink of an apocalyptic revelation? Well, what exactly did he say? Alright, let's break it down. So you might have heard about this thing called the rapture, right? Some folks are super excited about it, while others are pretty freaked out. Basically, it's this idea from certain religious groups that one day all the good Christian souls who have passed away will come back down to earth and meet up with the folks who are still alive. It's supposed to be a huge deal, like the biggest event since forever. The whole concept comes from ancient writings, and there's this Greek word harpazo that talks about being snatched away. Elon Musk even thinks this whole snatched away thing is going to happen real soon. And a lot of people aren't ready for it, apparently. Now, for some folks, the rapture is like this mind-blowing, out-of-this-world thing. It's not just about disappearing into thin air. It's about the idea of being united with a higher power, or getting into heaven for good. It's like a peek into what's beyond life on Earth. But let's get real for a sec. In some people's minds, the rapture isn't just some folklore. It's got people talking about when it's going to happen, how it's going to shake up the world, and when Jesus is supposed to show up again. There's this idea that it'll happen before all this crazy stuff goes down on Earth, kind of like a get out of chaos free card. A man named John Nelson Darby was really into figuring out the details back in 1833, and his theories still have folks debating today. But here's the thing, there are a ton of different beliefs about the rapture, and they're always changing. The scariest thing about it is, with what's happening in the world today, Elon believes all signs point to a rapture happening very soon. What's even scarier to think about is when the rapture does happen, where will you be? In a recent casual chat with the Babylon Bee, Musk dug deep and subtly gave some wild warnings into the dreadful concept of the upcoming rapture. But what truly captivated the audience was his unconventional opinion of Jesus Christ and his religious beliefs. Musk didn't just dismiss the question of whether he accepts Jesus as his spiritual guide. Instead, he delved into a serious discussion, drawing parallels between his own beliefs and the timeless wisdom briefed by Jesus. Poised in a thoughtful demeanor, Musk highlighted the serious teachings of Jesus, promoting the importance of concepts like turning the other cheek, forgiveness, and the golden rule of treating others with the same respect we desire for ourselves. He particularly resonated with the timeless advice of love thy neighbor as thyself, seeing it as a fundamental principle for a harmonious society. What many people did not realize was Musk's pensive outlook on the idea of Jesus potentially saving people. When asked about whether he'd like to be saved, his response drew a level of curiosity, as he remarked, "Sure, I'll be saved. Why not?" If Elon Musk himself was considering the salvation of Jesus, then he definitely knew something that many people were missing. If anyone could read in between the lines, you would realize that he was really saying something about where the world was headed. Despite his baptism as a child, Musk openly admits to grappling with profound existential questions about the existence of God, faith, and the narratives surrounding Jesus in the Bible. While he may not consider himself deeply religious, Musk's contemplative nature has led him to embrace prayer, hoping for the opportunity to engage in meaningful discussions on those profound topics. For Musk, these conversations hold immense significance, not just on personal levels, but for humanity as a whole. In a world often overshadowed by adversity, Musk took the potential of such dialogues as a platform to spread a major warning among people from all walks of life. And his warning was simple: find salvation quickly. Musk believes that embracing discussion on spirituality and morality can be viewed as a collective achievement for humanity, transcending geographical boundaries and cultural differences. One such topic that demands immediate attention is the rapture. Now, you know the rapture is serious business when you hear it being compared to the days of Noah. You've got to understand how bad things were in the days of Noah to appreciate how serious this warning is for believers. A picture of how bad and sudden the rapture could be is likened to the sudden downpour of the rains and floods in Noah's time. Just like today, the world in Noah's time was preoccupied with ordinary activities like eating, drinking, marrying, and going about their daily routines. Then, suddenly, something unexpected happened. But the truth is, it actually wasn't so sudden. According to the scriptures, the flood wasn't sudden. God had actually given them 120 years to repent and seek salvation. But very few listened. From this, it's clear to see that such major events are always preceded by serious warnings. Some of these warnings are from influential voices like Elon Musk, and others appear in the form of signs. One major sign that preceded the coming of the flood in Noah's time was the abundance of violence. And if you look around today, it's kind of scary how much violence there is. Although not a new thing, certainly in the history of our world. It is still quite prevalent today. However, notably, the wars in just the last 90 years have killed more people than in the last 500 years before that. That's a lot of lives lost, if you ask me. And it's not just wars. Governments have done some pretty terrible stuff too, killing millions of people, even when there's no war happening. And it's not just soldiers who are getting hurt either. More and more civilians, regular folks like you and me, are getting caught in the crossfire. It's like nobody's safe anymore. But violence isn't just about guns and bombs. There's another kind of violence happening all around us, and it's happening in secret. For believers, a typical example is the topic of abortion, where they believe innocent babies are deliberately killed before they even have a chance to be born. Although not a new thing, in 2023 abortion was authorized on request in 77 countries. Each year, the World Health Organization estimates that 39,000 women and girls die from consequences of unsafe abortions. These are besides the various levels of corruption at high-ranking offices that lead to the indirect demise of many below the wealth ladder. It's a silent kind of violence, but it's happening all over the world, millions of times every year. And then there's terrorism, another scary thing that's on the rise. Since 1970, there have been over 125,000 terrorist attacks documented. And that's not even counting all the ones that haven't been reported. It's like people have forgotten how to treat each other with kindness and respect. Instead, they're using violence to try and get what they want, although we know this is not something new in the world. The world is constantly changing, and some people believe not in a good way. Gary Lafree, the director at the National Consortium for the Study of Terrorism and Responses to Terrorism, said it himself. The world is definitely changing, and not for the better. It's like we're heading down a dangerous path, and if we're not careful, things could get a whole lot worse. If not for anything, the rapture is expected to be an electrifying scene, a divine rescue mission. This presents a wide range of beliefs about the end of times and the timing of the rapture. It's essentially going to be the end of the world. But the real question here is, where will you be at the time it happens? How prepared are you now for it and when it happens? You know, when you think about some of the biggest disasters in history, like Hurricane Katrina or the eruption of Mount St. Helens, it's pretty mind-blowing. But as big as those events were, they don't hold a candle to what some folks believe is coming. The rapture is simply a whole different level of huge. Let's take a look at Hurricane Katrina for a second. Back in 2005, meteorologists were keeping a close eye on that monster of a storm as it barreled toward the Gulf Coast. The National Hurricane Center sounded the alarm, indicating how serious this hurricane was going to be. They issued ample warnings left and right, telling people to evacuate and seek shelter. But unfortunately, despite the overwhelming availability of shelter, a lot of folks just shrugged it off. They thought it'll blow over, believing they had been through the worst of storms before. That couldn't have been further from the truth. Katrina wasn't messing around. It hit hard, causing massive destruction and tragically taking many lives, many of which could have been avoided. Then there's the eruption of Mount St. Helens back in 1980. For weeks leading up to that fateful day in May, the ground was rumbling, and the mountain was spewing ash and smoke like there was no tomorrow. Geologists were ringing alarm bells, saying this volcano was about to blow, and people simply needed to get out of here. Evacuation orders were issued, but not everyone took them seriously. Some people thought they could ride it out, or that the experts were just being overly cautious. But when that volcano finally erupted, all hell broke loose. Many lives were lost, homes were destroyed, and the landscape was forever changed. Now, here's the thing. Both of these disasters were preceded by warnings. The signs were there, plain as day, telling people to take action, to get out of harm's way. But you know what usually happens? People don't listen. They think they know better, or they're too stubborn to admit that they might be in danger. And by the time they realize they should have heeded those warnings, it's often too late. And this is not limited to natural disasters. It also applies to pandemics. Despite warnings to wear masks and get vaccinated, many people ignored that advice to their peril. Now, when it comes to the rapture, well, let's just say it's going to make those disasters look like a walk in the park. And the scariest part, just like Katrina, St. Helens, and the COVID pandemic, a lot of folks might not listen until it's too late. Now, when it comes to the rapture, there are all sorts of views out there about what it's going to be like. According to Christian belief, it's going to kick off this crazy time called the Great Tribulation, where things are going to get really tough for those who miss the airlift. We're talking about wars, famines, earthquakes, all sorts of other disasters happening left and right. And then there's going to be this evil dude called the Antichrist who's going to rise to power and cause all sorts of trouble. It's like something straight out of a horror movie, except it would be real life. You know, the Bible talks about all this stuff. In Revelation 6:12 through 13, it describes the sixth seal being opened, which reads, "I looked when he opened the sixth seal, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became like blood, and the stars of heaven fell to the earth, as a fig tree drops its late figs when it is shaken by a mighty wind." This passage describes cosmic events such as the darkening of the sun, the reddening of the moon, and the falling of stars from the sky. It's a vivid depiction of the chaos and mayhem that will occur during the end times, according to the book of Revelation. Various records and beliefs about the rapture indicate that when it happens, there are literally people disappearing into thin air. Ever seen the movie Left Behind? Imagine being on a plane cruising at 30,000 feet and all of a sudden the pilot and co-pilot vanish right out of the cockpit. Or you're driving down the highway and the car in front of you suddenly swerves out of control because the driver's gone. That would be something out of a nightmare. It's hard to imagine that God would plan so poorly, but hey, there it is. According to Elon Musk, whether you believe in the rapture or not, one thing's for sure. We gotta be ready for whatever comes our way. We can't just bury our heads in the sand and pretend like nothing's gonna happen. We gotta be prepared, spiritually and practically, because you never know when things might take a turn for the worse. And yet the story doesn't end there. Following the rapture, the stage is set for a disturbingly dramatic showdown as God's justice is unleashed upon the world. The imagery is apocalyptic. Seals are broken, trumpets sound, and bowls are poured out, signaling the climax of the cosmic conflict and the dawn of a new era. In essence, this perspective on the pre-wrath rapture isn't just a theological concept. It's a gripping tale of redemption, resilience, and divine intervention woven through with symbolism and suspense. It invites us to ponder the mysteries of the universe and contemplate our place within the grand hanging of existence. Oh, and speaking of pondering, you may want to consider exactly why Elon Musk is hung up on the end of the days. I mean, can you blame the guy? If you were privy to signs around us, you'd begin to warn about the coming of the rapture as well. So, what are these signs of the end of times that Elon's been talking about? Well, if you crack open the Bible, you'll find all sorts of stuff about wars, natural disasters, and just general chaos. And when you look at the news these days, it's not hard to see some parallels. Although notably, these things have been happening since the dawn of time. So it's kind of hard to decide if these are the end of times or not. First off, there's the whole technological aspect of things. Elon's all about pushing the boundaries of what's possible with technology. But with great advancements also come great risks. Take artificial intelligence, for example. Elon's been pretty vocal about the potential dangers of AI if it's not handled properly. Some people see the rapid development of AI as a sign that we're entering into uncharted territory, where our creations might eventually outsmart us or even pose existential threats. Then there's the whole environmental angle. Elon's big on sustainability and fighting climate change, and for good reason. The signs of environmental degradation are all around us. Melting ice caps, rising sea levels, extreme weather events. It's like the planet is sending us a message, loud and clear, that we need to change our ways before it's too late. I mean, did we really think we could just fill the atmosphere with toxic gases and nothing bad would happen? And let's not forget about these societal issues we're facing: economic inequality, political polarization, social unrest. These are all symptoms of deeper underlying problems that seem to be getting worse by the day. It's like the fabric of society is fraying at the seams, and if we're not careful, it could unravel completely. Again, just take a look at the conflicts happening in different parts of the world. We've got tensions rising between major powers, proxy wars being fought in various regions, and civil unrest bubbling up in different countries. It's like the whole world's on edge, you know. And then there's the natural disasters, from wildfires tearing through communities to hurricanes battering coastlines. It feels like Mother Nature is really letting loose lately, but the greatest of these signs are what we have going on in our skies. As we ponder the signs leading to the rapture, it's intriguing to consider the sudden increase in celestial phenomena that have been captivating our attention in recent times. One notable event that's set to grace our skies is the arrival of various types of asteroids and meteorites in 2024. Have you stopped to consider why these cosmic visitors ranging from shooting stars to larger asteroids are suddenly visiting our orbits? However, amidst these cosmic activities, one particular event stands out as more than just a coincidence. In the year 2029, astronomers predict that an asteroid will make a close pass by Earth. Now, this isn't just any ordinary asteroid. It's about as wide as the Empire State Building is tall, and it's set to come within a mere 20,000 miles of our planet. To put that into perspective, that's closer than some of our satellites orbiting Earth. What makes this asteroid even more intriguing is its name and the eerie interpretation it carries. Named after a demon serpent from ancient Egyptian mythology, Apophis symbolizes evil and chaos. When it was first discovered in 2004, scientists initially thought it posed a dire threat to Earth, with some forecasting a potential collision in 2029. The symbolism of its name, coupled with its close approach to our planet, adds an extra layer of mystery and significance to this cosmic event. Now, while scientists have since determined that Apophis is not on a collision course with Earth in 2029, its close pass still serves as a reminder of the fragility of our world and the unpredictable nature of our very existence. It's a humbling reminder that we're just a small speck in the vast expanse of the universe, subject to the whims of celestial bodies, prophecies, and events much larger than, older than ourselves. All of these point to the fact that we're definitely have some major challenges ahead of us. But for believers, could Jesus Christ be the true Savior of the world beyond the hands of the mighty minds of our generation? Millennialists believe that Christ's reign began when the church was established and will continue until he returns. They see the church as the starting point of Christ's kingdom, with events like Pentecost being significant examples. They believe that Christ is ruling alongside believers through sacred rituals and ceremonies, and they eagerly await the fulfillment of his reign when he returns. On the other hand, amillennialists interpret the 1,000 years in Revelation symbolically, seeing it as representing the ongoing era of the church. They anticipate a transformative event similar to the rapture when Christ returns, which they connect to the significance of Pentecost. Unlike premillennialists, they focus on Christ's reign throughout the different phases of the new covenant, past, present, and future. They interpret mentions of Jerusalem in Revelation as symbolic of a new Jerusalem or a new heaven and earth. Some people known as millennialists don't support rebuilding the Jerusalem temple. They believe that Jesus' sacrifice on the cross replaces the need for animal sacrifices. This idea has been backed by historical figures like St. Augustine and is currently accepted by many Christian groups such as Catholics, Eastern Orthodox, Anglicans, Lutherans, Methodists, Presbyterians, and Reformed congregations. They emphasize that Jesus continues to rule and that the church plays a spiritual role in preparing for the future. This perspective contrasts sharply with the belief in an imminent rapture. Instead of focusing on a sudden event, millennialists think about Christ's ongoing rule and the church's spiritual duties. They stress the importance of continuous preparation for a future where divine promises will be fulfilled. At the end of the day, all signs point to how the world is coming to some sort of big conclusion, and it could be the rapture given all the tribulations coming our way according to believers. However, beyond all of this, it comes down to a personal reflection. If you knew the rapture would happen tomorrow, what's the first thing you would do? Be sure to let us know in the comments below.